Good evening, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Urbana Community Development Commission, and we will get started with this evening's meeting. One of our commissioners is on his way, Chris Diana, and we do have a quorum. So I guess Kelly's getting the cameraman together. Okay, the meeting will now come to order, and next is roll call.
Fred Cobb,
Here?
Janice Bankston, Chris Diana, George Francis, Jerry Moreland,
Here.
Elizabeth Searing,
Here.
and Heinz Silver.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is approval of minutes, and here we have the November 19th, 2013 minutes. So we'll do that. Did everyone, Kelly, get the revised minutes that you sent out? Or?
They should have,
Okay.
either by email link
Mhm.
or also sent hard copies out too.
Okay.
So
So we'll go through the minutes for a second. Okay, has everyone had sufficient time to review those November 19th minutes? If so, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Motion.
I'll move to approve the minute.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the November 19th minutes as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it. And the November 19th minutes stand approved as written. Now, we also have some other minutes here from August 27th. So does everyone have those minutes? If so, we'll review those for a moment. You got them? Okay. Okay, if everyone is finished, I'll entertain a motion for approval or modification.
I move to approve the minutes of August
27th.
7th.
27th.
27th.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the August 27th minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of August 27th as written. Any comments or? Any statements? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it. And the August 27th minutes stand approved as written. Okay. Next on our agenda is what we call petitions and communications. This is the part of the meeting where those of you in the audience, if you have something you'd like to present to us that's not on our agenda for this evening, now's the time to come forward. Anyone? Okay, if not, we'll proceed with our agenda. Next, we have our staff report.
Yes, you should have received in your packet a staff briefing. I just want to go over a couple of things under the housing and urban development activity. Staff attended the HUD-All Entitlement Grantee Conference, and I also did a presentation on some regulations. And then the city also received notice about the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago. 2 applications were approved. And we also received notice from DCEO with the state about the ESG, and that's the subrecipient agreements are on the agenda. And then you can see that staff were very busy, and also under grants management activities, we had some of our public hearings last month, or the beginning of this month, neighborhood meetings, and that because of extreme cold weather, we have to reschedule a couple of those for probably for February and into March. So that's our staff report.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have old business. Okay. Let's see. Let's see, we don't have anything broken out as old business on here, so do you want to discuss anything as old business, or you just proceed to do new business?
Just new business. We don't have any old business.
Okay. New business. Under new business, we have the home program first, 2 items under it. Resolution certifying a community housing development organization for the Urbana Home Consortium for fiscal year 2013-14, which is Habitat. Also, we have a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, which for CHODO, which is Habitat. Okay, would someone like to address those?
Sure. I won't spend a whole lot of time on these. Basically, the Community Development Commission reviewed 2 applications, or an application to fund 2 houses last August, 1205 West Breslin and 1208.5 West Dublin. The family that had selected the lot at 1205 Breslin dropped out of the program, and so Habitat had to go to the next family on the waiting list to find a project that would be eligible for the CHODO funds that had already been recommended for approval by CDC and then subsequently approved by council in September. Based on the timing of when all of that happened, we decided it didn't make sense to execute the agreement without knowing what that second property was, so we never executed it to begin with, and so we're presenting it just as kind of a new agreement with the updated property, which is 1107 West Hill, which is in Champaign. Since this is our community housing development organization funding, they can basically, all of our nonprofits can build anywhere in the consortium area. So as far as the consortium's concerned, as long as it's in the city of Urbana, Champaign, or unincorporated Champaign County, it's an eligible CHODO project, and we're always happy to have commitments in that area, as some of you may well know. So yeah, if there are specific questions about it, everything has basically stayed the same. It's just a matter of swapping out that property so that we can move forward with the development.
Okay. Regarding this item, we have 3 options. We can forward it with a recommendation recommendation for approval to the city council, we can forward it with a recommendation for changes to the city council, or we can not recommend it. Does anyone have any questions about this? Yes.
Oh, go ahead. We did this in August, right? So I noticed in August, we changed the amount of the funds from 70,000 to 69,004. And I noticed that this one says 70,000.
Yes, so in between CDC and council, we closed out the project at 1107 North Gregory, which was one of the Choto builds that Homestead Corporation had been doing. It was originally intended to be a single-family build. It ended up being converted to a transitional housing unit, and they actually came in under budget by about $6,000. So all of that happened really quickly. We went to the closing, all the project stuff was submitted, and we realized, oh, we actually have enough to fulfill what was originally requested by Habitat. And so it was like, well, it was less than $1,000. And I guess staff kind of made the decision that it made sense to even it out. That way we'd be able to commit everything to Habitat in keeping with our historical allocations for their projects. Okay. So that was we did explain that to council, although I apologize, we probably should have followed up with you all if we didn't between then and now. So yeah, I apologize.
Thank you.
For that.
Okay. I had a question more out of curiosity. It said that at the bottom of page 1, sales contract with Habitat, the purchaser for 1205 West Beslin signed a contract but later decided to pursue a degree program and could no longer continue. What is the criteria? How does that work?
The criteria.
Well, I mean, was that the reason why he could no longer?
Basically, the family had decided that, they had gotten accepted to a degree program.
Moving away.
Well, I didn't ask that of Habitat, but there is a lot of sweat equity that has to go into doing a build.
Okay.
So to be doing school full-time and then to complete the 250 hours of equity, plus there's like 10 different courses you have to complete as part of your home buyer education. I'm guessing that the timing just was kind of worked out really poorly, and
Right.
I think Habitat doesn't want to put a strain on people. I mean, it's a tough process already, so it wouldn't make sense to kind of jeopardize that person's position with their education and trying to further continue that. It just made sense to kind of do what was best for the family.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Under fiscal impact, it states that the resolution will not impact the city budget in any way, and this is a procedural requirement. I was wondering why the statement that it will not impact the city's budget is in here, as opposed to will it impact any other community development activity? Because community development funds are different from general city funds anyway. So why are we talking about the city when this is community development activity?
That's true. Well, the city does publish a budget that's approved by council, and it incorporates both our community housing development or community development block grant and our home investment partnerships funds. So in terms of what we presented to council, that's not going to change because these funds were already earmarked for community housing development organizations. And in regard to our grant funding, in that same kind of line of thinking, it's not going to change because that 15% set aside is set aside for just these sorts of activities. We can't touch it. It's only the nonprofits that have access to this sort of funding. So it's not like, we're switching money between different programs. This is sort of what I consider the Choto's money. So if it's going from one property address to another, it's not that the funds have changed at all. It's just we've changed the location of one of the particular projects that's being undertaken.
Yeah, I was just questioning why do we need to refer to city budget, period.
Oh, if I could say this is just kind of a plug and chug for that, because it has been an important issue to the Community Development Commission in the past. We at least like to highlight whether or not there's a significant change to how we run our programs financially speaking, which is a reflection on the city's budget because we do track how we spend our grant funds every year, and we have to report to council on that as well.
I was thinking it may be more useful information if we know whether it's going to stop another house from being rehabbed or something like that, as opposed to affecting the city budget.
Okay. Yeah. No, we
Yeah.
can definitely take that into consideration. We hadn't really presented it from that
Okay.
angle before, so sure.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll entertain a motion for one of our options to recommend and approve it. Okay, we have a motion to recommend this this resolution for approval to the city council. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay. Next, we have a whole category of 5 resolutions regarding Emergency Solutions Grant, the ESG program. Would you like to address those as a group of 5, or?
Yes.
Okay.
A part of the Continuum of Care, the City of Urbana is a member of that, and we also sit on the steering committee. The Emergency Solutions Grant is a grant that has come through our Continuum for quite some time, and it provides funding to local shelters in our Continuum area. This year for FY 2013, the state, specifically the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, they receive funds from HUD, so they are the sub-grantee, and then they submit or provide funds to our local shelters. This year they had a grant minimum of $25,000, saying that they would not issue any individual grants to the agencies. A lot of the agencies that are receiving those funds have grants that are less than $25,000. So the City of Urbana, with our relationship with most of the agencies already through our Consolidated Social Service Fund and other grants that we administer, were chosen as a good fit to be able to receive all of the money and disperse it to those 5 agencies. The Continuum submitted an application to the DCEO back in April. The grant actually started on October 1st. We just received our grant agreement this month, so timing with everything. But so this is the process of us being able to subgrant those funds that were approved by the Continuum to those agencies. The Community Elements for the Time Center, Crisis Nursery for their shelter program for children, the Greater Community AIDS Project for their shelter, the Center for Women in Transition for their shelter, and the Salvation Army. And then the dollar amounts were listed in the memo as well as to what the agencies will receive. And then, of course, it's always nice to receive a little bit of administration fee. It is just a little bit, but part of our greater leverage in doing this is building that relationship with the state, that the City of Urbana can maintain its relationship as an administrator of funds and possibly open the door to be able to do this with other projects through the state in the future if that opportunity arose. And I can answer any questions. We do have 2 agencies, Sue Whitman from the Time Center and Mike Benner from the Greater Community AIDS Project. So if you have questions about the program, this would be a new grant for us. We have not had the Emergency Solutions Grant. There are many communities throughout the state that receive it as an entitlement community, such as we receive our Community Development Block Grant or our home funds. Some agencies receive the money directly from HUD. Our Continuum, Champaign County, is a little bit smaller, so we're not eligible to get the money directly, as to why we get it as a pass-through from the state.
Any questions? I was wondering if there were any other options as, other than these 5 who were presented here. Did anybody else make a request or anything?
Not exactly. Yes and no. So part of the funding, this funding comes through HUD, through their homeless assistance, special needs assistance projects, SNAP projects. And there are requirements about the agencies that can participate. So the shelters must be a member of the Continuum. And then the Continuum is actually the body as a board, we are an established board, to select the agencies and go through the approval process. So each of the agencies have submitted an application to the Continuum to explain what it is that they would do with the funds, why they need them, their shelter. They have other requirements that are set by regulations, reporting in a homeless management information system. So you have to do all that and present your application to the Continuum and be a member of the Continuum. So there are, the shelters that we do have that are members are those 5. There aren't any other shelters that would be able to meet all of the federal regulations that are actually a part of the Continuum to receive this funding. So if there was another shelter, they would have to go through those steps to be a part of that and then be approved under the Continuum to receive funding.
Okay,
So
all right.
yes, no.
Okay, well, any other questions?
Yeah. Who exactly is and makes up the Continuum?
A group of nonprofits, so such as these 5 shelters, the Department of Veteran Affairs, the City of Champaign, City of Urbana, the county, the University of Illinois, the Champaign County Mental Health Disabilities Board. Some members are affiliates and some are actually voting members, but it's a variety of nonprofits, interested stakeholders, others that participate in homelessness. There are some faith-based organizations that are a part. Probably about 20, I'd say about 20 members that we have, and then maybe about 5 affiliates. I can get you a more detailed list.
Basically, who are the voting members? Just generally, I don't.
Generally,
yeah.
The City of Champaign, City of Urbana, the county, the 5 agencies that are listed here.
Okay.
I can't think of who I might be missing. And then we have rules about voting. I can provide you with more details about how that body is made up and who the voting members are and the structure of that board.
Okay. And so this particular methodology that's here of having the City of Urbana administer it was voted on by the Continuum?
Yes.
Okay. And then the funds that we're talking about here were applied for through this commission,
Through the Continuum.
through the Continuum.
Yes.
But the funds we're talking about here are funds that run through this commission.
We are incorporating that to be a new process. The grant, this is our first time receiving that grant, and the grant will be responsible under this department, under the Grants Management Division, specifically under my
Right.
administration. So because this was the best fit of where to administer the funds from our department and our division, it then comes to you because we want to enter into an agreement as the city with these 5 agencies to provide this money.
Okay. But this, I guess what I'm getting at is this money would normally come through what channels? How would it get to the Continuum normally?
Through the state. So,
Through the state from where? Would it be something that flowed through this commission
No.
to the Continuum? Okay.
No.
So this is, I guess, my question boils down to this. Either why is this in front of us to approve, or this is a very circular sounding kind of a thing here. It's a Continuum that's approving one of its own members to administer things for itself that are coming through here to a commission that's appointed by the city that's now also the one who's going to administer this. There's about 7 layers of spiral here that I'm not quite understanding
I
why we're
would
looking at.
say it's similar to the supportive housing program, we administer that over several agencies, so it's kind of similar in that respect. And so we've come with subrecipient agreements for those. Supportive housing program, Center for Women in
Right.
Transition and Salvation Army. So this
Right,
is
but those
similar
are
to
normally
that.
people who do an application process that is a standard process that kind of
But I
flows
think that
through
still
us.
goes through the continuum.
right, that still
Okay.
goes through the Continuum. That's not an
Okay.
application that they,
So that this would be similar to that, in a sense, just approval of the I guess what I'm getting at is why are we, still coming back to why are we approving what here?
So this isn't really approving us to, the city of Urbana, specifically our division, to enter into an agreement with these agencies to provide this money. So it's the paper trail. It's more for the documentation. We have to go and in order to disperse funds or to have a contract
Gotcha.
regarding dispersing funds, this is the process that I think has existed just to do that.
Okay. But if we didn't approve it, the funds would be, they've already been applied for and are coming anyway, right?
Yes.
So they're kind of coming to the consortium regardless of whether we approve it or not.
Yes, it has already been approved to the state. Yes, it's been approved for those funds to come to us. And now we are asking for the approval to enter into an agreement to disperse those funds to these agencies. It is more of a procedural, yes.
I guess that's kind of what I was getting. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. For those representatives here, would you care to explain the significance of these funds to each of your organizations?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Benner. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Community AIDS Project. Historically, GCAP has been able to receive funds through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity through this emergency, it used to be Emergency Shelters Grant. It was recently changed to Emergency Solutions Grant. However, our grant has always been less than $10,000 for this. And this was, and there were several other agencies that had received amounts less than $25,000, like Janelle said, that was the minimum that any organization could request this year from the state as pass-through. So as a continuum, we discussed it many times through many meetings as to how would be the best way. Do we knock out other agencies that would not be receiving $25,000? So knock out my agency, Greater Community AIDS Project. I think Crisis Nursery and possibly Salvation Army. So that would just left Community Elements and CWIT as receiving the entire funding. But that would eliminate the three other agencies. So we came up with a solution that we would have the city of Urbana actually play the sub-grantee from HUD, and then they would administer the funding to us. We'd submit reimbursements requests to the city so that we could get our programs funded. Ours specifically for GCAP is for Champaign House or Transitional House, which has been in existence for 20 years now as a place for people that living with HIV that are homeless. There has been a big change in the criteria of homelessness over the past few years, and part of the agreement is that we have to follow those HUD regulations, and I believe that we can very much do so, and it's very much so in helping people that are literally homeless get back on their feet and become self-sustaining in our community.
Okay, thank you. Any
Does that
questions?
help a little bit clarify, hopefully?
Yes.
Okay.
Since for the House. Okay. Thank you.
I'm Sue Whitman. I'm the Director of Adult Recovery Services at Community Elements, and Time Center is one of my programs. You ask the significance of this grant to us. We get $18,356.17 for this, and we're very grateful for the City of Urbana administering this. Previously, it has not had to be done this way. We still have to write the grant and meet all the criteria, but I'm a very old social worker, and I feel I'm a panhandler these days. We have funding from 5 different governmental bodies and all different types of outcomes and hoops we have to jump through. But we have seen a great deal of increase in need, not just in the residence part with our 70 men at Time Center, but we provide a soup kitchen for children and women too, and also women can use our facility during the day for showers and eating. And it's been a hard year, so thank you, Urbana, for taking this on, and it's very valuable to us, so we're grateful.
Okay, so it's for You said food, shelter?
Actually,
and-
this particular grant helps pay for some of our operating costs. Most
Operate.
of our grants are personnel cost and
Mhm.
program pieces, so we're really pleased that this helps pay for lighting and electricity and those type things,
Mhm.
among others.
Okay, questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Again, with this resolution, we have three options: to forward it with our approval, recommendation for approval, to forward it with our recommendation for approval with conditions, or to not recommend it. This time, I'll entertain a motion for one of those options.
I move that we forward it with a recommendation for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to forward the resolution approving the agreement with a recommendation for approval to the city council. Any comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Thank you very much. Okay, next on our agenda. Let's see, is there a next? I believe we have exhausted our agenda. That will give us time to listen to the president this evening, who comes on in about a half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, does any of the commissioners have anything else, or staff? Anything else? If not, thank you for your participation, and meeting is now adjourned.